some days it's not that you don't want to focus, it's just that you're tapped out and you're mentally over it, right? And so you've got these to-do lists. Your to-do lists don't care, right? The people counting on you, well, they at least seem to not care, and your goals aren't waiting for you to say, hey, brain, come back online, come and get me, right? So let's talk about that today because it's about brain fog. Have you ever dealt with that? Oh, man. That overstimulation, the mental fatigue, those aren't random. You know, I think over the years, many people have just kind of become accustomed to it. But if you really think about it, it's the result of just constant input without enough intentional reset. I've lived it, and when it hits, I'm going to tell you, it messes with everything. Your focus, your motivation, even your follow-through. You know, you can have the best intentions, but all of a sudden you feel so off track. And it's not just about mindset. I think a lot of times people think, oh gosh, I just need to focus a little bit more, put my mind to it. But it really is this, you know how they say that you can't outwork a poor diet? Well, you can't out positive a burned out brain. So we're going to talk about that today. Before we get into all this great stuff, make sure you're going to hear it again. TalkToPerry.com. Just head over there because I've left that site wide open for podcast listeners, podcast viewers, and it's all about keeping your energy high so that you can reach all of your goals. And I want to help you. Recharge. When I say that, not just your mental battery, but your physical battery as well, so you can reclaim your power. We do that in 15 minutes. I mean, faster than an electrical vehicle charger, right? Head over to TalkToPerry.com. So let's look at what's actually going on with your brain when it feels stuck or cloudy. Now, I'm not a brain expert, but I've had enough experience with my own brain and, seeing other people struggle. And I know that it's not about willpower. It's not about discipline. That mental fog, it usually just comes, when there's a few things that are working together, and they're in conjunction with creating that fog. The constant screen time, the digital overload, the poor sleep, shallow rest, unprocessed stress, even emotional clutter, and even with food, nutritional gaps. That leads to not moving, so you're not physically moving at all. Those things, they kind of add up together, and they chip away at your clarity. I don't know if you ever thought about all that combo working. I don't want to say against you, but it's definitely not in your favor. And you may be thinking, well, I just got to try. I just got to focus through. Keep going. It's kind of like you've got a windshield that's got a lot of fog on it, or maybe a bunch of bug goo. And you got the windshield wipers on, and it's just like it's hard to focus through that windshield. It's frustrating, but it's fixable. So, I'm going to recommend some things for you here because the brain needs some breaks, not just scrolling breaks. A lot of times our brains are just tempted to get back into what we know is familiar, right? But just real mental pauses, things that could be like 5 minutes of sitting in silence, stepping outside, getting in nature, getting away from the tech, closing your eyes, even deep breathing just for a few minutes without interruption. That can be a game changer. Now, you're probably listening going, yeah, I know that already. But are you doing that? Are you implementing that? Have you tried it and reap the benefits from it? So that's one thing. Another one is just movement. That makes a huge difference. And it doesn't need to be a perfect routine. You don't have to have everything dialed in and figured out. Just consistent physical activity that gets your blood flowing. Doesn't even have to be intense. It just has to be regular. I've been getting out and doing some walking each night. Third, clarity. That's connected to what you're putting in your body. One of the big one, I often need this reminder, is hydration. The hydration, nutrients, really even the targeted support, they matter. And I started using a product to really help with focus and attention. And I just noticed less fog, better energy, less mental drift, that midday drift, and even where you just get things done. And it's just great support. I will drop that. I'll drop a link to that product if you want to check it out down in the show notes here. Because, and another thing I do want to mention, if your brain, it feels scattered, overloaded, and you're just ready to feel more grounded, more alert, you really want to, just shift and start reaching every goal that you've set, head over to talktoperry.com. We'll figure out what needs to shift to get your clarity back. The thing is, you're not so far off course that you can't make a comeback, but you're probably just overstimulated. And there's no shame in that, of course, but we live in a world that really pushes nonstop productivity. And we were never built to be having the on switch on all the time, right? So mental clarity, it takes intention, and you can support that. You can build it. And when you do, you're going to notice this. Even test out some of these strategies over the next 30 days. You'll notice that how the changes that you make or how you feel, it's going to impact everything. So just know you can choose to use your power, take control, use these tips. Go over to my website at talktoperry.com, or even head over to the show notes there. Or you can, say, I've done that already. I know that already. I just need to do better, and let the excuses, negotiations, the rationalizations, the defending limitations, you can let that control you and drain your power. It really boils down to deciding and committing. That means taking action on yourself and your goals, and choosing to figure out new ways, looking at possibilities, learning and growing, and keep moving forward. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. You could drop those down in the comments. I promise I will reply. You absolutely rock, my friend. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find the show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.